Justice in our healthcare system requires access to, but even more importantly, I think, knowledge of all the options. And that is the spirit of this entire channel, is to share with you options that may not be being advertised or may not being shared with you by certain authorities that you are going to right now. I want to give you an alternative way to start to understand the information that's out there and make sure it's available to you. There are a lot of people that have been coming to me with concerns over cognitive decline, a lot of worry about the rapid progression of dementia and Alzheimer's, and a lot of people out there who've worked their whole lives and now they want to enjoy their lives. And I want to make sure you can enjoy your life for as long as possible. So I put together an entire course that I do teach for the Gata Institute. And there are many levels to this, and I will share the distilled version of this here for you online to give you hope, to give you direction, to give you somewhere to start. Because there are so many things that you can do for your health. Sometimes the most challenging piece in understanding where to go is, where do you begin? And if I were to begin, I am going to begin here. This is the very first thing. So I'm going to take you through my thought process and reasoning and all the research and what I would do to begin with if I started to feel as though that was a concern. So I'm going to take you through the slides of this course. And the entire course is available, but I'm just going to give you the basics here as we go through. So this is from Exposures, A Brain Under Siege, and we're talking about pesticides, paraquats, and TCEs. Now, who am I? And why am I talking about this? Well, I've been an educator for a long time in the holistic realm. I do a lot of teaching across the country. I teach for the Gata Institute. I also teach for a company called Bayhan Consulting, where I'm fortunate to be able to go and teach in person for continued education for healthcare practitioners. I'm also approved by the National Association of Nutrition Professionals and the British Association for Nutrition and Lifestyle Medicine. So I take all of my years of clinical experience and the network of healthcare practitioners that I have known over the years and bring all of our experience together before I share it with you. I have many great people with much bigger brains than me that I rely on to help see my blind spots. And we come together because we want to bring the best answers for all of you and give you true guidance on where you can begin and where to go. So where I would start with this situation is going to be this analogy. We got to talk about what is the priority going on here. And it was actually, like I said, my dad used to talk about people as being an old farmhouse. And when they would come to see him, he would say, look, this house needs some repair, right? If you want people to live in this house and you want them to be happy and thriving, because that's what a house is for, you have to make it habitable for them to be in this house. And clearly, a lot of people's homes are not necessarily habitable for them to live in. And this is important because a lot of the medications you're going to be seeing coming on the market to help with dementia and cognitive decline are aimed at keeping certain neurotransmitters in the brain higher. Like acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that there's a drug that is designed to stop the enzyme to break that down. So if this house that we're looking at is intended to keep acetylcholine in it, we have to make it a happy home for that. So we have to repair this home. So we need to bring in a contractor because we can't have a house with no door. All kinds of things are going to get into that house. In fact, we definitely need windows. We have to do that. But if there's a fire in one of the rooms, it does not make any sense to rebuild the door or put in windows because that fire is going to consume the whole house. So we have to put out the fire first. So we have to bring in the firemen to do that. And that could be neuroinflammation. Let's say maybe you do have an inflamed brain or there's inflammation. We got to put that out. But even before that, now this is, as we've evolved this metaphor over the years, what I'm going to say is that if there's somebody pouring fuel on that fire, we have to first stop them from pouring fuel on the fire before we can bring in the firemen, because we're just wasting the firemen's time. We're going to constantly be building that fire. So this is an important first step. And this is what I'm going to hopefully guide you through is what's the first step? How do we eliminate the fuel being poured on the fire? And then how do we bring in the firemen? And then we will bring in the construction team to rebuild your brain. Now, I found this very interesting. This is Rachel Carson, the author of Silent Spring. That was written in 1962, way before so many more chemicals that we're being exposed to were even a thing. But she said the most alarming of all man's assaults upon the environment is the contamination of air, earth, rivers, and sea with dangerous and even lethal materials. And this is becoming more and more of a reality. So let's go back to the history. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Parkinson's because Dr. Parkinson called it the shaking palsy. And he noted it in men working in soot-filled, polluted heart of the Industrial Revolution. So this is a picture of this. Imagine you couldn't even see down the street. There was so much. So people were breathing in these chemicals, which gave us the first clue that this is a major contributing factor to these conditions. But it's gotten worse because we've got more and more chemicals. I mean, we're not living in industrialized London, but the amount of chemicals has increased in the variety of them. And Parkinson's has increased 2 to 3 times over the past several decades. It's the fastest growing neurological disorder globally. This rise is not from aging, but from avoidable exposures. And what are we getting exposed to? Top 3 here: pesticides, chemical solvents, and pollution. Now, at this point, I do not want people to be overwhelmed and think, oh gosh, I'm never going to be able to avoid all these things. That's not the point of this lecture. The point of this is to give you many, many opportunities to minimize your exposure. The more you know, the more you have the opportunity to reduce that burden on your body. And so I'm going to show you very clear ways that you can actually reduce this burden as much as possible. Now, no one's going to do it perfectly. No one. But if we take certain steps towards reducing this as much as possible and then clearing those toxins, we're going to be in a much better position overall for us to start putting out the fire and rebuilding overall. Okay, so in fact, it's over 80,000 chemicals that Americans are exposed to on a daily basis. And so there's a growing body of scientific evidence that shows that even the smallest dose of some of these chemicals can be harmful, including those found in commercial products such as cosmetics, personal care products, cleaning products, and children's products as well. And here's the full list of references in case you want to look up all of that for the 80,000 chemicals. Now, here's the thing. We're getting exposed through our nose, our lungs, through the water, in a lot of different ways. And the brain absorbs these chemicals like a sponge. It has a little ability to clear them out without the right support. So we're consuming toxins, not just through food, but also through the air we're breathing, through water we're exposed, through our skin, and our lungs are taking a big hit here. One of those chemicals is called chlorpyrifos. And this research I just showed to give us context now that even low-level exposures can increase risk up by 250%. So we definitely want to know this for those children who don't even know what they don't know about the world. They definitely don't know that exposure to these chemicals are going to be setting them up for failure later in life. So at the very least, we can take this information to help them. This is a neurotoxic pesticide. It's been banned for residential use in 2000, but it's still used in agriculture in 2022. So think about this. We can't wait for something to be banned for us to understand that it's bad for us. I'm reminded of that red dye situation. It was finally banned in foods last year, but 35 years ago, it was banned in cosmetics. So why are we waiting 35 years for us to recognize that something that is unnatural going into a body that is a part of nature is not going to, our body doesn't want it there. It's not doing anything to help you. And in contrast, it's doing everything to slow down and possibly cause problems. So anything that's unnatural, we want to make sure we're limiting our exposure to it coming into our body because it's got no business being in there. And we want to help get rid of it as much as we can. So moving on, let's see here. Okay. Pesticides also are shown to be a proven trigger. And the introductory video to this, I shared some other research. But for Parkinson's specifically, they say that particularly paraquat and insecticides are going to be some things that we want to look at. Herbicides and pesticides. Now, well-meaning farmers have sprayed these on the crops because they want to be able to have a good yield. They want to make sure that there's enough to go around for everybody and be able to provide food in the form that we know it. But now we've learned, we move forward. We understand that we make mistakes in the past, we learn from them and we move forward. We have to find a better way because not only are these herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides being saturated in the foods and then saturated in us causing health problems, they're also diminishing the microbiome of the soil, which is allowing those nutrients to get into the food and causing us to get less value out of the food that we're eating. So we really have to be much more thoughtful about how this is happening. Now, unfortunately, paraquat is actually still legal in the United States, but does that mean that we're going to wait until it's illegal before we recognize that it's bad? Of course not. Over 70 countries have banned the pesticide paraquat. So if there's 70 other countries that have already recognized this, let's not wait until we get the green light from our authorities at this point. I think we can start to think for ourselves about whether or not that is a problem. Paraquat actually crosses the blood-brain barrier and it selectively kills dopamine-producing neurons. Now, what's dopamine? Dopamine is another of the neurotransmitters, one of those happy people you want to have in your happy home to make it a lively and wonderful place to live in. And dopamine gets us excited about things, and it's very much connected to helping have smooth muscle movements, and that's why there's a lot of attention on this when it comes to Parkinson's, because you can't have smooth movements without the dopamine. And if that is being destroyed, then you start to get shaking. That's one of the things that contributes to the shaking overall. So these findings unequivocally show that selective dopaminergic degeneration, destruction of the dopamine production, one of the pathological hallmarks of Parkinson's disease, is also a characteristic of paraquat neurotoxicity. So clearly, I think we're all in agreement by this point. We do not want paraquat in our bodies. So how do we figure out where we're getting exposed to it? Well, if you haven't heard of it yet, please know the dirty dozen is one of the most important things you should find out about. Know your sourcing as best as you possibly can. Avoid things like air fresheners, scented candles, aerosol sprays, and switch to fragrance for your naturally scented products like essential oils only. I just had a gentleman right before I started this video. We were talking about the foods, that are going to be supportive of his health and those are not. But I wanted to give him some good whole food vitamin C for what he was looking for. And I mentioned strawberries, and I said, now they have to be organic. And he goes, really? Why is that? I said, because they're number one on the dirty dozen list. And I had to say this to him 3 times. So I'm going to say it a few more times because this is so important. Either you do not eat strawberries or you have to eat them organic. That is the only option, in my opinion, at this point, because you think you're getting value out of strawberry, you think you're getting some nutrients to help you, but the overwhelming toxic load of that is actually having a much more negative effect on your health than a positive effect. If it is not organic, it's actually being destructive more than it's being helpful. I know it's a huge statement to make, but I really want you to start thinking of them that way. Please do not. And I know it's an awkward thing. I just told the story the other day. I went to my mother's for dinner, and there were strawberries in the salad. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't want to be that guy. I am that guy, though, by choice. I do need to know if these are organic, not just for me, but for you going forward. I don't want you to know unknowingly be dumping toxins into your body because I want you to keep your brain sharp. So the strawberries are number one, but let's take a look at some of the others that are on that list. Spinach is number 2. Now, spinach is one of those things that I know that many times I've gone out to dinner and I think, oh, I'll order the spinach. That's a good healthy option. Or the kale, number 3. If they're not organic, unfortunately, they are actually causing you more harm than doing health benefits for you. And most restaurants, unless they advertise that it's organic, they're not choosing organic. So just keep that in mind. Know that, of course, they're a business. They're trying to save the money where they can. Maybe they don't even know that the organic versus non-organic is really an important thing. And that's a huge question that people have. And I'm here to tell you, in this, it is. So unless they tell you it's organic or ask them, I wouldn't touch the spinach or the kale either. Grapes. I fly often to teach around the country, and often one of the things that's offered is grapes. And I can't even bring myself to give them to somebody else because I know that is an active way of harming them. And I know this is starting to get overwhelming, but it's a short list of 12. And then there is something called the clean 15 that you can eat. All I'm saying is that if it's not organic, I would strongly encourage you to just not eat it at all. Peaches, pears, nectarines, apples. Now, apples are a big one that I want to talk about a little bit later because I found some serious health conditions with one young lady because of her overconsumption of not organic apples. Bell and hot peppers, which are usually a great source of vitamin C, again, which is a great antioxidant. and helps you to detoxify. But if they are not organic, likely you're getting a lot of chemicals. Cherries is number 10, and number 11 is blueberries. I know I do eat blueberries every day. In fact, I eat strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries every day in my clinic as I break my fast with some organic, raw, sprouted nuts and seeds. Now, those are choices that I know are daily actually going to give me what I'm hoping and not take away from my health. And I don't expect everybody out there to do this perfectly, but I would encourage you to consider it. And green beans are also on this list. So just stay informed. The EWG.org is a great resource. They say stay informed, stay healthy. And they let us know that more than 90% of the samples of the strawberries, apples, cherries, spinach, nectarines, grapes all tested positive for residues of 2 or more pesticides. In fact, 13 to 23 pesticides in at least one sample of each item. More than 50 different pesticides were detected on every type of crop on the list except for cherries, and over 100 total pesticides were detected on kale, collard, and mustard greens, as well as the hot peppers. So just know that, unfortunately, there is a lot of danger hiding in there that we're not being told enough about. And your skin is just a giant mouth. So what goes on your skin goes in your body. So remember, fragrances, cosmetics, and lotions often do contain a lot of things that can disrupt your neurotransmitters and all of your hormones as well. And to make it easy, thank goodness, the EWG has created, as of today, a mark that you can trust. They have 2,681 products that they have approved for the EWG verified mark, meaning that if it has that, then it's probably the best choice that you can do. And I always bring this up, know your sourcing. Different states have different regulations and different things. So depending on where you live, connect that to what you're looking at as to what you're eating. I don't want to get too deep into that, but it's hard to speculate, about how much is coming into our foods. But there's inconsistency from state to state, but there's so many different things that there are active bills by chemical that they're trying to get changed. And unfortunately, things move at a glacial pace sometimes when it comes to this stuff. So the last one that I want to just mention is something called TCE, or trichloroethylene. Selective vulnerability of dopaminergic neurons to mechanisms of this chemical make this a candidate for Parkinson's disease risk. And there's evidence for moderate to high potential in neurotoxicity in vulnerable populations and life stages. In fact, this was just banned last year. And that was just when I got to interview Dr. Ray Dorsey right after it happened. I can't help but feel like he, was an influencer in helping make that happen, because we've been trying to make it happen forever. And if you're watching this, one of the things to think about is dry cleaning. Dry clean is one of the most common ways that people get exposed to this. Whether you live near a dry cleaner, you wear dry cleaning, or whether you're on an airplane with a bunch of people with dry cleaning in their clothes, you're breathing it in. So this is when we have to pay attention to getting it out of our body and helping us to detoxify this. It's definitely common dry cleaning chemical linked to Parkinson's, according to Rochester University Medical Center. And the individuals who worked directly with it have an elevated risk of it, but the authors warned that millions more encountered the chemical unknowingly through outdoor air, contaminated groundwater, and indoor air pollution. So there's a lot of ways that people are being exposed to this. In fact, the EWG has an article saying that water is the forgotten exposure. People whose water contains it can be exposed not just by drinking it, but also by inhaling it while bathing, washing dishes, or doing other household activities. That's what Tasha Stoiber, the PhD and senior scientist at EWG, did say. So where is the water exposure most? Wonderful. They created a map to help you know if that's something you need to put double, triple, quadruple attention on. If you're in, out in Montana or North Dakota, probably less concerning. Even Wyoming, it looks like it. But if you're on the East Coast over here, if you are in that area, look at how much there is in the water. That's a big deal, and California as well. And it even looks like somewhere in the Midwest, we got to be a little more careful about that. Now, as I said, awareness is the first step to protection. And that's what I just did. I overwhelmed you with awareness. I gave you some options. Don't let it overwhelm you. Just know that now you have ways to kind of assess whether or not you have a huge portion of this contributing to potential cognitive decline, and what can you do about it. Well, the next step's elimination. Let's help the brain clean house. Let's get those guys out of the house. They're just taking up room. They're just causing problems, breaking the furniture, lighting fires, and just, they can be fun for a little while, but they got to go. So detox is not a trend. It's a survival strategy. Your body wants to detox, but our current toxic load exceeds what most people's systems can manage without support. I'm going to pause here really quickly. I put a little picture of that little thing that we should all be visiting every day, because one of the very first things that I always look at with clients is whether or not they are eliminating every day. It is shocking to me how many people think it's normal to go every 2-3 days. If you have things coming into the body, you need things coming out of the body. That's how we get rid. That's a primary way that we get rid of all the junk that's in there. And if that is something you're struggling with, please reach out to us. We have a whole checklist of things that we go through to make sure that people get back to the business of taking care of your business every day, as often as you need. Okay. Now we have 5 organs of elimination. And so we got 5 opportunities to support our body's ability to get this garbage out. Number 1 is the liver. Number 2 is your kidneys. You got the colon. We just talked about that. Your lungs and your skin. All of these play a role in clearing toxins that can harm your brain. So I just like to remind people that the lungs are a forgotten detox organ. And the more we breathe, the more we can help get chemicals out. Now, of course, we have to be breathing in an area that's clean. We want plants around us. Getting out in nature and deep breathing is one way we're actually going to be able to remove these toxins. So a lot of deep breathing has a lot more value than what we think. We may think it's just for yogis and people who are trying to ascend, but it's actually very important for us to do some deep breathing in a clean environment to help keep our brains clean. Daily breath work in clean air can help clear VOCs, carbon dioxide, and support lymphatic flow. Now, another thing would be sweating. Okay. If you can take 15 to 20 minutes a day and focus on deep breathing before you go to bed, maybe while you're laying in bed trying to fall asleep, that's one of the best ways you can do it. 20 minutes of deep breathing is actually shown to increase melatonin production naturally. So build it in as a ritual. Think about it. I'm just going to take 5 minutes and do some deep breathing. Open the windows if you're in an area that's not where there's a bunch of, traffic and pollution. If you're near a woods and there's trees, do that. Or get an air purifier and just empty your lungs out so you can get that garbage out. Now, sauna is one that I do encourage a lot of people to look into now. Sweat as medicine. Intense movement, hot baths at least once a week. We really want to help our body get all of this garbage out, and sweating through our skin is one of them. Deep, intentional sweating mobilizes even heavy metals and environmental toxins. And heavy metals are a really big thing that I talk an awful lot about. We want to be able to support our body's ability to get them out as much as possible. So if you can find someone to help you be able to make sure you're sweating, or lean into it. I know people think it's gross, but man, it's not as gross as having your brain being messed up by all of these chemicals, right? So they're sweating. But the other one to support those organs is something called sulforaphane. Now, sulforaphane, I just want to bring to your attention, is really high in broccoli sprouts, not broccoli. I mean, broccoli is helpful and broccoli is great, but the broccoli sprouts they found to be much, much higher in this very specific piece that helps to activate something called your NRF2. It's a detox pathway. Okay, just to keep it simple. We want our detox pathways at a maximum level if we have all these chemicals coming in to get them out. And in fact, there's some really great studies on this sulforaphane and broccoli sprouts specifically, showing it increases the excretion of these airborne toxins through urine and boosting antioxidant defense, which of course is where I'm going to remind you to make sure you're drinking appropriate amounts of water. Don't drown yourself in water, but make sure you are drinking enough water, because the solution to pollution is dilution, and we need to bring that water in to wash them out. So make sure it is water that is from a spring, that is clean water. Of course, we don't want to bring more garbage in as we're taking garbage out. Just to give you a little more encouragement on this broccoli sprout situation, to rid the body of harmful pollutants, drink your broccoli, this study suggests. And this is where I kind of remind people, sometimes the title of a research study gets it horribly wrong. It's actually broccoli sprouts that we want to be giving people. They did a 12-week trial. Participants who drank a beverage containing freeze-dried broccoli sprout powder, remember that actually is what was going on here, not in the title, but it's what happened, They had actually mixed it with pineapple juice and lime juice and water. They saw a 61% increase in their rate of benzene excretion. Now, benzene is another chemical that has no business being in the body. It doesn't help at all, and it only gets in the way and causes problems, lights fires. So in the beginning of the first day, and it continued throughout the trial. In addition, the rate of excretion of acrolein, another terrible one, increased 23%. Okay, so obviously we've accumulated all this garbage and our body's trying to get it out, but it doesn't have the chemistry that we need to give it to get it out. And these broccoli sprouts are this great ally. It's like hiring this huge professional cleaning company because we're trying to clean it up ourselves. And they're going to come and be like, no, 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 we got that. We're going to do 61% more for 12 straight weeks than you can possibly do. They're going to get it squeaky clean. So we want to keep that going on in the body so that we can continue to be able to move around and be happy and healthy in these bodies. Now, this is a company that I've used in clinic for a very, very, very long time. So if you're looking for products that you want to add to your broccoli sprouts, and actually there are broccoli sprout products out there that are actually very worthwhile and very good. And I can, if you ask, I can leave a comment below and I'll give you a link to where you can find that. But this is one that I've used for years. This is a complex product that supports your kidneys and your liver and of course your gallbladder. It helps regulate the pathways in the body's natural toxin elimination. Why I like this is because it's a multiple combination of so many great things. People are starting to learn about burdock is a wonderful thing, milk thistle. There's organic barley and dandelion and organic beet. There's cayenne pepper. That was one of the things that I was trying to get the gentleman earlier today to integrate into his life. Even if it's Frank's, I mean, I think that there's a lot of value there. Spanish black radish is one that I could talk about for hours. Globe artichoke, fennel, cordyceps mushrooms, kale, organic. Oh, thank goodness it's organic. The reason I show you this is that there are products out there that can help support eliminating this. Now, this is something that I have done on a cadence of 3 times a year over a 21-day period where I really focus on eliminating things coming in and getting things out. And it's called a purification program. We've been doing that for many, many years. That's another thing that we want to encourage everyone to kind of create a ritual around once or twice a year, just because we're living in an unnaturally high level of toxin exposures. And we do need to be able to support our body's ability to really get them out. Now, this is something that, depending on the person, it might be something, depending on your toxin exposure, that you might want to revisit more regularly than 3 times a year. But I'm just giving you options here. This purification program is really great. It's really complete. They give you all these different foods you can eat, recipes. If you're doing it with us in the clinic, we have keto versions. We have all these different ways of doing it. The goal of it is to just dedicate a time and a space to your body to do some serious cleaning. Actually, this is today is the 21st of May when I'm recording this, and that is the 21st day of our spring cleaning version of it. And quite honestly, because I have excess exposure from a lot of different things and traveling, I'm actually going to continue it. But you can do a little bit of it or you can do all of it. But the idea is that we try to do as a community, encourage each other to do it. If you want to know more about that, please let us know. We're more than happy to include you in the community and give you encouragement and ways to make sure that you are inspired to continue to do this, because it can be overwhelming after a little while. I do want to share really quickly 3 things that I found in a recent young lady who had flown across the country to come see me because they couldn't figure out anything that was going on with her, but she was miserable. She had all these problems. It took a little questioning. I had to really dive in deep, right? You can look at lab work and you can look at all these things, but you really have to look at their environment that they're living in to understand this. Their home is right near where there is crop dusting. So she's getting exposed to a lot of chemicals through the air and the water there. She also ate regularly apples. I asked her, were they organic? Applesauce or apples? No. So this is almost a daily thing. Apples have been known, as you saw them on the Dirty Dozen list, to be high in chemicals, but also in arsenic. And she also ate a lot of rice, and it was not organic rice. And I just recently shared some research on that, and I can share that with anybody who's interested, that there is a well-known prevalence of high levels of arsenic in rice. I know that's hard for people to hear, but if you get organic rice, again, that's probably going to be a very important swap out for you when it comes to making sure that you're taking care of your health in the best possible way. Now, there's also other things that you may need. Now, I don't. This was designed for healthcare practitioners. This video that I made, and so we were talking specifically about these products. But we do have these parotid glands here that do help protect us. In some cases, you may want to talk to a healthcare practitioner who has access to that because that might be something you need. Not in all cases, but again, my goal here is to help you understand there's so many things we can do to help support our body's ability to get rid of these things. So don't think that there's just one or two things and that's all. There's a lot of opportunities to continue to help you to become the healthiest version of yourself. And I will continue to share as many as I can as I learn more and more and more. And I will continue to make content for you to watch. But first, this is the first steps, right? If you're worried about your brain, first audit your exposure. Identify where you're encountering chemicals, air, food, water, skin, surroundings. Prioritize clean consumption. Prioritize when you can choose organic, do it. Look at the EWGs, Dirty Dozen, Clean 15. Filter your water. Detox your environment. Replace toxic cleaners, fragrances, personal care products with alternatives that are clean and natural. And sweat it out. Commit to at least a weekly ritual through sauna or movement to help eliminate heavy metals. Now, there has been a lot of talk about this great Finnish study that was 39 years, I think, in the making, that they were studying people, and they were showing all these massive benefits of people who would do sweating like this, or in a sauna specifically, 4 to 7 times a week. So the more you can do it, there may be a greater return. Of course, you don't want to just wait until the end of the month and take all the garbage out of your house on one day. I know most people have a weekly garbage day that they take the garbage out of the house. And that's why I'm trying to encourage you to think of, in terms of your body, at least a weekly removal. More might even be better, but that's a case-by-case basis. Breathe to cleanse. Practice daily deep breathing in clean outdoor spaces or clean indoor, if that's your best option, to support the lung-based detox. Support your detox organs. Give some love to your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, your skin. Remember, your parotid glands are also part of that. So you might want to find ways to help support them. And then just feed your brain. That's next. The entire next piece of the course is how do we start feeding the brain in ways that are unknown. I make short videos about these as well, but we're going to focus on your omega-3s and Bs and iodine, maybe, even something like creatine or sulforaphane-rich vegetables. There's so much we can do to feed the brain. And just take ownership, because small, consistent actions are going to add up. That's how we got in this mess in the first place. Small, consistent things that we didn't know were happening to us. So now we need to just flip the script on these things. Let's go with small, consistent actions that are going to move us in the right direction. This is how we reclaim and protect our brain health, one choice at a time. And I'm going to leave you with this quote here from Ray Dorsey, the gentleman who wrote that book here. Parkinson's is, to a large extent, a man-made disease. And like polio, HIV, and breast cancer, it is one we have the power to end. And I cannot support this enough. We want a clean house, and we want to make sure that we have every option we can to live our lives and really enjoy life, and not just work our whole lives to have to take everything that we worked for and put it back into some medicines or some rescue. We can start doing things now. And the more we start doing things now, the better off we're going to be in the future. I know we've told that many times. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. So let's add in an ounce or multiple ounces every day so we can do everything we can to turn this around and give everybody some more hope, because there's so many options that we can do. Thank you for sticking in there. This is the longest video that I posted so far, but I will be sharing as much of the educational content I can on here for all of you, because I believe all of you have the right to know that there's so much more you can do, and that's what I'm here to share with you. All right, take this with you and have a wonderful life, and continue to ask good questions. I look forward to your comments and your conversations, and I hope that this gave you the hope that it gave me. Have a good one.